Hey guys, and welcome to the next spoken Lithuanian lesson of Automatic Lithuanian Academy. And today we have Lithuanian verb prefixes as well. We're continuing that topic, and we have now three prefixes: e, right? So we have, let me see, we have e, we have ish, and we have no. Now we had an example in previous lesson with no, so we're going to look at more examples with no as well. So prefix e, it's a pretty simple one, I would say. As it says here, it conveys a very basic meaning of in or rather into. Both of these are, I would say, correct because, in usually means inside something. Into is more of a motion or action. And since we're going to be using this one on verbs, it's usually going to mean rather some sort of a physical movement into something or entry into a state, or as it says here, acquisition or incorporation of something new. So let's look at some examples. So of course the most basic one is eiti, to go, but if we add e, we have eiti, to go in. Okay, so for example, įeik į kambarį would be go into the room. Now for example, let's say dėti. Dėti means to put, but usually when we say put, we would use pa and say padėti. That would mean to put something down, but just dėti would be to put. Of course, if I want to say to put in, now that's įdėti. Įdėti, okay? Įdėti. So that would be to put in. Let's say, for example, įdėk cukraus į arbatą. Ko, cukraus, put sugar into the tea, right? Now, it could be genitive, let's say if it's uncountable, as in this situation, cukraus, a little bit of sugar. If I said it's įdėk cukrų į arbatą, it would mean like all the sugar in the world, yeah? If I use the accusative. But in this situation, just put a little bit of sugar into the tea. It means įdėk cukraus, ko, genitive, į arbatą. Put the sugar into the tea. Įdėk cukraus į arbatą. For example, let's say sometimes especially with this one, we have verbs that just go with this prefix. Let's say, for example, because vaizduoti, now in and of itself, there is a verb vaizduoti that means to display. Usually, if you said it like to display, but there are other ways to say to display, and vaizduoti, it's a very weird verb to use just in and of itself. Now, įsivaizduoti, we have prefix e, and we have the si particle of a reflexive verb because you're doing it yourself. Įsivaizduoti means to imagine. So, įsivaizduok ateitį, imagine the future. Įsivaizduok ateitį, įsivaizduok ateitį, right? The same with mylėti, right? To love. Now, if we add e and we add the reflexive part si, we get įsimylėti, means to fall in love, right? Įsimylėti. Jis įsimylėjo ją iš pirmo žvilgsnio, you could say, right? Jis įsimylėjo ją iš pirmo žvilgsnio means he fell in love with her at first sight, right? Let's see one more example, a more interesting one. Tikinti, again, a verb you would not use as a standalone verb. You would, like tikinti would mean the action of convincing somebody. So if I used just įtikinti without the si particle over here, let's remove this one, right? And we just have įtikinti. So įtikinti means to convince someone, right? But if you add the reflexive part and say įsitikinti, now that's to make sure or be convinced. Okay? So, for example, įsitikink, kad durys uždarytos. Įsitikink, kad durys uždarytos, that would be make sure the door is closed. Make sure the door is closed. Okay, so we have a couple more examples. Let's go with ish. So, again, it's rather, I would say, easy because if e is talking about going into something or just being in something, ish has the core meaning of out or out of or from something, right? It indicates movement outward, removal, extraction, or, as always, completion of an action. Okay, so as I said, movement outward, the removal or extraction, completion or thoroughness of an action. So for example, eiti to go, išeiti means to go out. Jis išėjo iš namų, he went out of the house. Okay, imti to take, išimti means to take out, right? Išimti pinigus iš bankomato, withdraw money from the ATM, or just take money from the ATM rather, but it's still the same thing. Okay, gerti to drink, išgerti to drink up, or to just finish drinking something, right? Išgerti stiklinę vandens means to drink a glass of water, or rather to drink up a glass of water, right? Valyti to clean, išvalyti to clean thoroughly, just complete doing it, complete the cleaning, išvalyti kambarį. We have an example, clean the room completely, right? Clean the room completely. This one is more interesting, for example. Sakyti means to say, right? Now, if we add išsakyti, right? So that would be, well, just to express fully, but I would just say sometimes it could just mean like to spit it out, right? Just išsakyti means to say completely without restraint, without holding anything back, right? So if you say to išsakyti nuomonę, for example, right? To express an opinion, right? So it's not necessarily that you're doing it in an angry way, but in this situation, just saying it fully, what you're thinking. Išsakyti nuomonę, express an opinion, to express an opinion, right? Once again, for example, spręsti just means the action of solving something. Išspręsti means to solve the problem completely, right? Išspręsti problemą, right? Solve a problem. Okay, as I said, more examples. You can check those out in a document. I will give it to you. Just download it, have it, and use it as you will. And of course, we have no. So it has a bunch of meanings, but basically it can be down, off, away. You can see these are related in no way, almost, right? Because it has many different meanings depending on the verb that it's used. But usually it has a movement downward or away from a source, right? It has a removal or a separation from a surface or origin. And of course, as always, with most of prefixes, it has completion. Then it has reduction, or rather cessation. I don't know how to pronounce this word, but I think it's cessation of an action. Sorry if I mispronounced this one, but it really fits over here because just stopping of an action, okay? So let's say as the one nueiti, right? To go away. But it's not exactly go away. As I explained in the previous lesson, right? Ateiti means to come. But for example, to go somewhere specifically, or just you could say, when will you come to that place? Right? I wouldn't say kada tu ateisi į šitą vietą, kada tu nueisi, because you're moving away from me, you're going to some sort of a place, not towards me will be ateiti, okay? Imti, to take, nuimti means to take off. For example, nuimti kepurę, take off a hat, right? Mesti, to throw, numesti, to drop off, to throw off. Numesti akmenį, for example, to drop a stone, okay? Kirpti means to cut, but nukirpti, to cut off. For example, nukirpti plaukus, cut off hair, right? Once again, for example, in these two situations, like for example, griauti, which would be to demolish, or piešti, to draw, right? But we add prefix nu because it adds that completion. Nugriauti, to demolish completely. For example, nugriauti seną namą, to demolish an old house. Nupiešti, to draw, to finish a picture, right? Nupiešti portretą, draw a portrait, and so forth. Again, with this one, nuskinti means to pick a fruit or a flower. So nuskinti, it adds completion. It's usually with that completion, unless you're just saying, for example, like to pick I like to pick flowers. Then you would say, man patinka skinti gėles, right? You would not say, man patinka nuskinti gėles, because that would sound like, I like plucking flowers. It adds that you like to just finish the life of a flower completely, just to pick it, okay? Even though it's the same meaning, but if you're just saying about the action that has this sort of a casual aspect to it, and you add a prefix which adds completion, it adds urgency, which sounds weird if you say that in a situation like this, right? So we have many different examples. For example, nuskristi just as well. Skristi means to fly, but nuskristi means to fly to a specific place, right? Or to fly away. So paukštis nuskrido į pietus, the bird flew away south, right? Or flew to the south, right? Or flew towards south, rather, okay? So we have a bunch of different examples over here. As always, I will give you the document. And right now, let's go into the practice part of the lesson. Number 7, practice prefixes I, ish, and no. So a room would be kambarys, right? Kambarys. A room would be kambarys. So to come into a room would be įeiti į kambarį. Įeiti į kambarį would be to come into a room. Įeiti į kambarį. Okay? We have įeiti į kambarį. Now, to write is rašyti. Rašyti, right? Right. To write. Rašyti. Rašyti. So now, a song would be daina. Daina. A song. Daina. So now, I want to record a song. That would be aš noriu įrašyti dainą. Perfect. Because it has that completion to it, right? Įrašyti, to record it into something, right? Into a player, into a record or whatever. I want to record a song, aš noriu įrašyti dainą. Aš noriu įrašyti dainą. Aš noriu įrašyti dainą. Now, medicine would be vaistai. I mean, like medicine, like something like a pills, something that you would take. Medicine, vaistai, plural as well, right? So now the doctor prescribed the medicine. The doctor prescribed the medicine. What would you do with this one? Then we have daktaras išrašė vaistų or vaistus. Now, in this situation, both are correct. That meaning either genitive or accusative, rather accusative or genitive. Both of those are correct, with a slight difference in meaning. So basically, like if you said vaistų, there's a specific meaning. It's really very, very weird one, and I wouldn't even think about it too much because both work perfectly. But if I had to explain this to you, so vaistų would mean like a little bit of specific medicine. He wrote a prescription for that. Like now, if daktaras išrašė vaistus, that means like basically he wrote like a specific amount that he had to have been prescribed. Okay, so this one like says like a little bit. This one says like that specific amount, those specific medicines, right? The same thing, a little slight meaning, or rather a little slight feeling to what's actually being said, and no difference in spoken language. So you may think like, why are you talking about this? Because I see people being, they trip over in places like this. They either think I either have to use one or the other. With some verbs, both examples, because it's usually either genitive or accusative, and in this situation, both of those work, okay? So once again, the doctor prescribed the medicine, daktaras išrašė vaistų or vaistus. Daktaras išrašė vaistų, vaistus. Daktaras išrašė vaistų, vaistus. Now, to say is sakyti or pasakyti if we want to add completion. So this, already you can see that in 2 lessons, we didn't have prefix pa as the main prefix in neither 2 of those lessons, but it has come up like already 4, 5 or 6 times. So to say sakyti, pasakyti, sakyti, pasakyti. Now, he demanded me to come. He demanded me to come. What would your guess be? How would you say this one? Jis įsakė man ateiti. Yeah, we add įsakė in this situation. It's not into, it's not in, it just įsakyti means, well, you could say I'm saying it into you because I'm so demanding, You could go like this and try to remember it like this because it's so demanding that it goes in like it's imperative, right? He demanded me to come. Jis įsakė man ateiti. Jis įsakė man ateiti. Jis įsakė man ateiti. Now, a thought or thoughts plural would be mintis or mintys. Mintis or mintys. Mintis, plural, mintys. So now, he poured his thoughts out. So he took all his thoughts that he had and he poured them out. What prefix would you add to this one? So you would say, jis išsakė savo mintis, right? Like, they came all out of him, right? So that's why we use prefix ish in this situation. He poured his thoughts out. Jis išsakė savo mintis. I think by now you understand how important it is to know prefixes in Lithuanian language, right? And to be able to understand these examples because, well, they change the meaning of the verb, right? So you have like 30 verbs. Now at prefixes, you have like probably 250 verbs, okay? So yeah, it's really, really important, right? Because usually we have these phrasal verbs in English like poured out, but in this situation we take the literal verb and we add a prefix to it. So he poured his thoughts out. Jis išsakė savo mintis. Jis išsakė savo mintis, right? Jis išsakė savo mintis. Now we went there. We went there. So that would be mes nuėjome ten. Mes nuėjome ten, right? We went there. Mes nuėjome ten. Mes nuėjome ten. We had just no. Yeah, mes nuėjome ten. Now get out. Get out. Not in. Get out. Išeik, right? Eik, like imperative. Do it. Eik. Išeik. Get out. Išeik. 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 Come in. Now, we can have a couple of here. We can say, ateik, right? Just come to my place. Ateik or įeik. We can say, just go in, right? Or there's a third one. There's a prefix už, which could be užeik. And that's the one you would use if you are standing at the door and you want to greet someone. You would say, užeikite. Like, that would be literally come in, like you're welcome to come in. Because I said ateik if somebody's at their home still, and I tell them just come to my place, right? I could say ateik, right? Or įeik. Or if I see just a person standing somewhere a little bit further away from me, I could say ateik, like come over, right? Ateik would also mean come over. It has many different meanings. We'll be using those examples, but there's the different situations where you would use one or the other. Like įeik, it's actually in. Ateik could mean come over, come here, all of those. But if a person is standing at the threshold, you would say ateik, it's still okay. You could still say that and it still can get away with this one. Just įeik has that very specific come in, or užeik, it's the same come in meaning. So come in, ateik, arba įeik. Ateik, arba įeik. Come in, ateik, arba įeik, or užeik. Good. So now to throw is mesti. Mesti, to throw. So a basket, I think you know where we're going with. I mean, after all, we're all Lithuanians. We're trying to learn Lithuanian, right? Basket is krepšys, right? Krepšys. So now to throw into the basket. To throw into the basket. Now, you can't have been expecting something else, right? To throw into the basket. Įmesti į krepšį. Įmesti į krepšį, right? Įmesti į krepšį, because, well, of course, to put into the basket. It's an easy one. Įmesti į krepšį. Now I could say, throw him out. Throw him out of my home, out of a club or whatever. Throw him out would be išmeski, right? Išmeski. It's a harsh one, but could be used in a situation. Throw him out, išmeski, right? Išmeski. Throw your keys there. What would you say in this one? Throw your keys there. Throw your keys there. Now here you would say, numesk savo raktus ten. Numesk savo raktus ten. It adds that completion to it. Throw them there. Now, if you said just mesk savo raktus ten without nu, completely fine. Because, the action of throwing already has completion to it. So just if you said like mesk savo raktus ten, and that's it, ir viskas, it's fine. If you said numesk savo raktus ten, it would sound more correct, more like correct Lithuanian. But I would say in everyday spoken Lithuanian, probably a person would even say mesk savo raktus ten, like more. I would say 8 people out of 10 would probably say mesk savo raktus ten, and some people would say numesk savo raktus ten, because that's the thing with Lithuanian. I think you have noticed this by now, because there's rules that we have to follow, as we had previous lesson, right, with accusative and genitive. Like there's ways that we should be talking, and there's ways that we actually talk. But I think that's in all languages, and we definitely, Lithuanian is no exception when it comes to this one. Okay, so this is what we have here, what we have as prefixes. I haven't been giving you homework with these lessons, because I will be giving you a bigger one, once we had a bit more prefixes to this situation. So if you want to practice, just, throw away some prefixes, some sentences, some verbs that you want to practice, and put them in the, as one of the posts in the community. It's, it may start rolling, and people may practice there. Okay. So if you want to do that. I will be giving you some more practice tasks later on. And I will see you either on live lessons or in the next lesson. Bye.